All right, welcome to Book Club. I'm Dylan, here with a man that exists in a world beyond our world. Keith, what's up, buddy?
Dylan. He's driven, unflinching, a calculating machine. He takes what he wants when he wants. D-man.
Oh, good God. We're breaking down some box office bangers, and this week we'll be discussing another hit from 2001. We had previously done Saving Silverman. This time around, we're doing John Travolta's award-winning film, Swordfish. If you'd like to recommend a book or a movie for us to read or watch, you can visit our website, buddybookclub.com, or slide into our DMs on Twitter or Instagram, Buddy Book Club Podcast. You can listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, so please download and subscribe. Keith, this was a recommendation from you. 2001, to put it in perspective for the listeners, we were 14 at the time? 13, 14? Yep. So this is a seminal film from your youth that you wanted to revisit, and obviously because Swordfish is it's on the button for all the clicks, you wanted to do this movie, right?
I wrote a Rotten Tomato variant on it. I thought everyone loved this movie because I saw it on TNT like 100 times when I was growing up, and I just assumed everyone liked it, and I've been thrown it by people and they're like, no, that movie sucked. I think I might be in for a realization that I'm maybe by myself on an island here defending this movie, so we'll see.
All right, let's just jump into some stock up, stock down. Keith, stock up, what do you have for Swordfish?
Stock up, the name Stanley, and there might not be a lot of revelations in this pod. I think I've actually cracked some sort of code here.
Okay.
I don't actually really know anyone named Stanley. I think I've known a couple Stans. If you meet a Stanley or ever come across a Stanley, it's going to be the exact same person, and I can break it down for you. They're nerdy people that are overlooked that become heroes. That's every single Stanley in the world, as far as I know.
Yeah.
We got Stanley Jobson, a.k.a. Wolverine. He's a hacking nerd that becomes a hero. Dr. Stanley Goodspeed from The Rock, a nerdy scientist that becomes a hero.
Indeed.
We got Stanley Ipkiss, a.k.a. The Mask,
yeah.
a shy banker that becomes a hero.
Yeah, he's not even a banker. He's just a bank teller.
Stanley Yelnats, the fourth.
Oh, from
The Holes, our first book. A shy, overweight, nerdy kid that becomes a hero. We got Stanley Hudson from The Office. This one's a little far-fetched, but that's okay. A nerdy sales guy who hates his job that does everything he can to get out of work. Yeah. A hero.
The people's hero, for sure.
Exactly. So stock up the name Stanley. Anytime you run across a Stanley, stick with that person. He's a nerd that's going to be a hero. We love Stanleys. Stock up Stanley.
Yeah, it's interesting that we could have literally done any of the other movies that you had chosen.
By God. By God. You say one bad thing, kid. I told you. I'll fly off the handle like you read about.
I gotta think of some other Stanleys. But yeah, it's a good one. Honestly, it is a good one. My first stock up is... This one will get you in the feels, but my crappy facial hair, stock up. So... You and I can't really grow a manly...
Why would find shots at me?
Well, you can tell your story if you want when someone shit on your facial hair. I can grow the, hipstery beard. That's pretty much as far as I can get. And it's unfortunate. I really wish I could have that thick facial hair. Although I don't really ever have to shave. My dad's the kind of guy, 5 o'clock shadow comes out by 9 a.m.,
Yeah, he's a man.
And you don't want that. Yeah, he is a real man, but you don't want that. I don't really want that either. But I think I'd rather have what I have than whatever's going on in this movie, because Travolta's facial hair is something I have not seen before anywhere. I didn't even know it existed. And it's something about John Travolta in his movies. He always has some weird facial hair going on. I mean, in Taking Pelham 123, he's got the handlebar. Not necessarily that weird, but it's still a big handlebar mustache on John Travolta. Battlefield Earth, he's got the goatee. I don't know if you've seen the movie The Forger or heard about it, but he has this teeny tiny chin goatee that you have to see to believe. It would take a microscope in order for you to actually shave that perfectly. It makes no sense. It's the size of a dime on his chin. It's very confusing. I think in general, probably for Travolta, because, he's a serious actor, or at least he fancies himself as such. I think he probably gets in the makeup chair and they're like, all right, so we're just going to give you a little makeup, maybe do something with the hair. And he's like, no, I've studied the character. This is the facial hair they have. And the people are like, oh, I don't know about this, but they just let him go with it. In this one, I think because this movie was made in 2001 and for the ladies, landing strips were in fashion. I think Travolta had been like watching a little too many Skinamax movies at night, a little too much Passion Cove. And he just got in the chair the next morning and goes, I need a landing strip on my chin. That's what I need. And they were like, what? And he's like, it's never been done before. Let's break ground. I don't know if it works or it doesn't work, but it's something else. It draws the eye.
He lives in a world beyond our world. I don't even know what you don't get about this. You only fantasize about what he does, okay?
Is he like snapping chalk lines on his chin so he can get that thing straight every day? Like, doesn't this guy have too much on his plate? He shits on Hugh Jackman. He's like, oh, nice suit when he comes in. I'd be like, nice face, bro. Like, look at your face. You have like a Sir Lancelot haircut with highlights in it. He looks straight out of Monty Python and the Holy Grail on the head. And then the chin is a legit landing strip. And I watched this with the wife here. We had a discussion pretty much the entire movie about, is it real? Is it taped on by the makeup people? Is it fake? Like, is it colored by them? Like, are they dyeing this little pube strip on his chin? It was a conversation
starter. Kid. It's all a facade.
It was part of the misdirection.
Yeah.
He didn't have it at the end. And actually, he looked a lot heavier. So I was wondering, I was like, wow, is the landing strip on your chin slimming? Is that like wearing vertical stripes?
Smart. Yeah.
What else do you have for stock up?
Monologues? Stock up? I liked the beginning monologue. You probably hated it.
I liked it as well.
I love monologues that start, especially coming from the bad guy. I think that's a great way to start a movie because it kind of sets the tone. Think of like The Departed or Goodfellas, where they have the monologue to begin.
Yeah.
It's typically from the bad guy's perspective, or like the person that's going to be committing crimes and things like that. A lot of what they say is like, oh, I kind of actually agree with that. And the monologue here is great, where then you zoom out and he's in the middle of a bank robbery. Great. I loved it. I mean, you can also look at other monologues like The Lord of the Rings is more like a narration, or Star Wars narration, right?
Yeah, that's more exposition.
It gets you amped up, gets you locked in more than anything else. So I loved it.
I'm honestly just blown away that you used Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Departed, and Goodfellas in the same sentence as Swordfish.
They are all up there. I agree. They're all up there.
It's phenomenal you're able to do that.
Yeah, thank you.
The thing I liked most about the opening monologue, which I did enjoy, but it's so funny how he's talking about realism, how like stories should be like realistic and whatnot, and then this movie continues and it's like, oh, he wasn't talking about this movie. He was just talking about movies in general, because this movie is
What are we talking about? I don't know. What was unrealistic? What are we looking at here?
I'll go to my next stock up, which is skipping out on your parole. So our buddy Stanley here takes Halle Berry's car and goes to find his daughter, and they're in California, and he's not supposed to leave Texas, I guess, based on his parole. One, he elbows an FBI agent in the face, and then takes the other FBI agents on a chase down a hill, which no one should have left unscathed. They were rolling down that hill for 3 minutes.
I added it in my hate section.
I was like, wow, they're still rolling. Like, oh, now there's a tarp.
It should have been cut. They shouldn't have ever had that scene. That was terrible. I agree.
It was just like, you're watching their legs like turn in crazy directions.
I'll give you one, kid. That's one. That's it.
Then he's like, all right, are you arresting me? And they're like, no, we're not arresting you.
You're not catching the small fish, kid.
But they don't even know who he's working.
Exactly. That's why they're letting him go. It's not like you think that the FBI agents are arresting the guy that's selling drugs on the corner. No, they're like, let's follow that guy, see where he goes. That's what they're doing.
But they could have just like said, all right, where are you going back to? And then followed that guy. All they needed was the address.
But once they arrest the guy, they're like, oh, where's our hacker? Oh, I guess he's not here. He's caught. We got to move operations. They just killed a dude in an FBI office. They can get anywhere they want.
You're thinking realistically. This movie's not realistic.
It's very realistic.
Well, they already lost the number one hacker in the world who got into federal custody. They have no idea what he said to those feds. John Travolta's like, nope, we're still good. We're green. Okay. So I think if they at least get some info out of our boy Stanley, then they could do the same thing. Also, I'm kind of surprised. Every single other person, and they also do this later, threatens Stanley with, hey, don't you want to see your daughter? And they could have just done it right there. They could have been like, hey, you want to see your daughter?
They don't know what he's involved in. They don't know anything. The FBI agent, all they know is he came off a plane with a mysterious person, and they're like, what are these people up to? And we know something's going down. We need to figure out more, so let's let him go. We'll go back. Now we're going to take pictures and follow him around. That's what they did. That seemed like pretty smart to me. I don't know.
Sure. Sure. We'll agree
Don't
to
sure
disagree.
me. Don't you dare sure me.
All right, well, what else do you have for stock up?
Let's stock up Dominic Sena, the director. You're going to hate on this guy, but he made two of the best films in the 90s. Gone in 60 Seconds and Swordfish. I mean, they're right up my alley. They're perfect Keith 13, 14-year-old movies.
Uh-huh.
I just wanted a quick shout out to him. Two Rotten Tomato variances, two great movies.
I just don't want to be confused here. I don't need the movie to be realistic. I can thoroughly enjoy a shoot 'em up action movie. You know, like Gone in 60 Seconds is that. And
Yeah.
I love Gone in 60 Seconds. I would rewatch Gone in 60 Seconds. They're jumping cars over bridges and stuff like that in Gone in 60 Seconds.
They're murdering people over not getting 50 cars in time.
Yeah, 49 out of 50. You know, people love this stuff. I mean, the Fast and Furious franchise is huge, and they're jumping cars out of buildings onto helicopters and
Let's not
stuff
compare
like that.
Fast and Furious' unrealisticness to this.
I'm just saying that I can suspend disbelief for a bit. My last one, we had kind of alluded to this earlier, is in media res, which is a narrative style where the narration starts midway through the story. And that's what this does with the opening scene at the cafe. Honestly, the best part of the movie, not even necessarily the monologue, which I thought was good, but just kind of how you're thinking, oh, these are three people, and you know it's Don Cheadle and Hugh Jackman and John Travolta. It's like, oh, these are big actors, the main characters, presumably. Who are they? They're sitting around this table. Everyone's captivatingly listening to John Travolta. And then all of a sudden, they're in this bank robbery hostage situation. It was like, oh, okay, what the fuck's happening here? And you kind of knew, obviously, that this was going to go backwards. But it definitely got me on the hook for, okay, how did we get here? I wanted to know. I'm a kind of a big fan in general of that narrative style when it comes to movies. I'm not sure necessarily how many books.
Vince Flynn had one of them books that did that, and I hated it.
My mom and stepfather came to visit recently, and he had another library book out, another Vinnie Flynn novel after I got him on Transfer of Power.
Oh, wow.
He's just like crushes these. And
Love that.
I asked him, I was like, oh, how was it? He was like, oh yeah, good stuff. I was like, how many Vince Flynn novels have you read? And he looks at me dead serious. He goes, does it matter?
Great answer. Perfect answer.
Oh, you're 100% right. And I was like, which ones? He goes, same answer. Like, he's like, I have no idea. I don't know.
As many as it takes for him to save the U.S. over and over again.
He's like, I have no idea the names of them. It's very familiar to me. It's not the same story over and over again.
Warm blanket.
Yeah,
on.
exactly. Yeah. It's just going to hang out with Mitch Rapp for a bit.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that because that's exactly
great
how we feel about it. Let's get into Stock Down. What do you have?
Stock down. Edward Snowden. And this is where the realism comes
okay.
from, kid. If Eddie Snowden just watched this movie from 2001, he wouldn't be in this situation. Our boy Stanley does exactly an Edward Snowden, but in 2001, he hacks the FBI and releases all this data on them reading emails and going against basically like privacy laws. That's what Edward Snowden did. We've took away his passport and we want to kind of get him back.
Well, we want to murder him for treason, right?
Yeah, our boy Stanley did the same thing. So, I mean, talk about realism. This movie predicted it.
He got 18 months.
Well, I don't know if he went public with it. I think the difference with Edward Snowden is he took the stuff, went to another country to release it.
Yeah.
It was a little more duplicitous than, is that a word? Yeah.
It is a word. I don't know if you used it correctly, but it's a great word.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting that he got 18 months for it. I feel like they would have said, okay, you were in Wired magazine. You have some altruistic ideas. You wanted to expose this. So you know he's not like a bad person, right? Couldn't you flip him and bring him in?
Do you think the FBI, NSA, and CIA have gotten better since then? All he's going to do is uncover more stuff that he doesn't want to see and then want it to whistleblow. So why would they bring him in for that?
Two ways of going about it. One, hey, you're going to save people, go into like hack into terrorist networks, whatever the case is, along with the theme of this movie. Or two, you just say the simple thing that gets him going every time. Do you ever want to see your daughter again? Do you ever want to see her again? You can work for us.
I like the conversation him and Don Cheadle had. Well, I just had to do what I had to do. And he said, well, I had to do what I had to do. And he's like, we're just both doing what we had to do. I like that. There's some philosophical thing there. It's like, we're at a principle.
I did too.
There's nothing he could do. He had to do that. He had to release the data because he felt he was obliged to. Whereas Don Cheadle has to do his job. So everyone's doing their job.
Yeah, he's like Omar from The Wire. It's like a man's got a code.
Right, yes.
That's his code.
Yes. It is very similar to The Wire, this movie. It's a good point. I agree with that. Yeah. You're making some good points, D-Man.
My first stock down, tequila shots. I'm not much of a shot taker these days. And by not much, I would say not at all. If I did succumb to peer pressure, traditionally I would ask for a chilled tequila shot. You know, nothing better. Put some tequila, ice shaker, a little lime, salt, whatever the case is. I would have it straight. I'm okay with that, you know, but the lime and salts were just really nice. You know, the process of a tequila shot, it's fun for everyone, right?
Yeah.
But not anymore. After one of Gabriel's ladies, Baby Bird's a warm tequila shot into Hugh Jackman's mouth, and it's like half in his mouth, half dribbling down his chin. I couldn't sleep last night. I watched this movie yesterday. I couldn't sleep last night. I was like, oh my God, that's so disgusting. Like, not only for the germ aspects, like this woman is, who knows? You know what I mean? She's obviously of ill repute based on the things she was doing afterwards. But the germ factor, and then also just having warm tequila just like sitting on your tongue for a while, I didn't like it very much. And it really turned me off the idea of tequila for a bit. If this is like promoting not drinking this movie, then they've done a good job, because I'm out.
It's just so soft by you. It's one of the softest things I've ever heard.
You're into that? You want someone with baby burden?
I like the scene. I think that was my favorite scenes of any movie.
Let's just talk about the scene itself.
Well, first of all, have you ever done like a body shot or anything like that?
No, I've not. You have, I presume, based on the way
I've seen them done. I don't think I've done one.
You post that.
They
like,
look cool.
Everyone has done a body shot.
Well, they look. I wish I was invited to one of them. I'm just over in the corner watching.
Yeah, I've seen a friend's wife take a body shot off of one of our other friends, which was very confusing. But that happened one time. But so I was present for that.
I think that's a fun scene. It's a fun time. You're watching on a Tuesday night while eating your chicken and rice dinner. It's a little different than going out Friday night on an ecstasy. You know, that's what that is. That's what they're all there doing.
Excuse me. We watched Jeopardy while we ate dinner. I got the popcorn, and then we watched Swordfish. Okay.
We got to get our mindset right. If you're in that scene, that's pretty cool.
Let's get back to the body shot, though. All the germs they pull out of people's belly buttons. Like, how rigorous are people in their belly button washing situation? And then you're putting an alcohol in there for people to slurp out of.
What do you like? You could literally do that with anything.
What do I like?
Yeah, what do you like?
Hermetically sealed bags.
I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? I don't even know what hermetically means.
It means like there's no bacteria in or out.
Oh, okay. System's not building up any antibodies to any bacteria, so therefore you're going to actually be weaker down the road. So yeah, I don't know what. Yeah, seems pretty dumb if anything.
I'm actually not.
I just turned that back around on you. See what I'm saying? Like you just take anything and it can be bad if you just point it in a bad light.
I'm actually not as super germaphobe. Like if someone's like, "Hey, try this drink. Have a bite of my food." Yeah, I'm all for it. But when we come to like baby birding drinks into my mouth, I'm good.
Do you get a beer? Do you wash the top of the can rigorously every time? Do you imagine what's on those? I've drinking 1,000 beers. I've never thought it once. I mean, that's the same thing. Like there's all these germs and everything flying around. If you don't think it's all mental, then you're going to get sick all the time. That's the fact of the matter.
But let's get back to the scene. She was spitting tequila in his mouth.
All right, then you don't like kissing. If you don't want to kiss a stranger, I get it. That's all you have to say. It's not the tequila part. That's weird. It's you don't like kissing. That's all you don't like.
Next time I see you, I'm going to spit some drink in your mouth, and you're going to be like, well, that's fine. Just like cracking open a beer.
Yeah. If you're still looking good, then I'm not going to be upset about it. But we'll see when I see you, okay?
You said this scene was your favorite scene of the movie. And this is the initial scene when Hugh Jackman meets John Travolta, and they give him 60 seconds to hack into the FBI database. They spit the tequila in his mouth, and then she gives him fellatiatius.
Yeah, with a gun in his head. Has there ever been a scene that's the super original way for interrogation or to get something out of someone while also having like 8 different stimuli going?
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. I thought it was really original.
Yeah. So do we bring back the Did You Get a Boner segment? Because I have to ask the way you're so excited about this.
I mean, I watched this on TNT.
Oh, yeah. How did they do that in TNT?
In TNT, that you don't know he's going to get BJ, so you just think he's like really tense. Like you don't
going,
understand what's going on.
Oh!
Yeah, you're like, why is he so weird with his eyes right now and stuff? So you don't see that, or Halle Berry, you don't see, if you know what I mean. So I watched this unedited version, it changed my life, honestly.
Can I get into my next talk down, and then we'll talk about it? So my next talk down is baseball. I've heard when men have issues in the bedroom, they think about baseball, to keep the party going. I'm not exactly sure what that means when they say they think about baseball. Or is it like you're running through stats? Or you're like trying to replay a game in your head? Like when they say you think about baseball, Keith, in your experience, when you do this, what does that actually mean?
I think it's a joke on baseball being boring. So people think.
So I guess if it's because it's boring, that makes sense to me. But you know what's more boring than baseball? Coding and hacking. Screw baseball. Just think about how you would potentially try to hack into a government database, and that's going to keep you in the game. But if someone is holding a gun to your head and saying they're going to shoot you if you can't do this in 60 seconds, do you think you would even be able to get an erection? Like, I don't even think that's possible.
Well, you said she's really good, so I don't know.
Oh, I mean, she could be friggin' Snuffleupagus. It doesn't matter to me.
I don't know. I mean, we're brought to you by Hims. So
Maybe because he'd made Gone in 60 Seconds, but they kept bringing back up like, oh, okay, you have 60 seconds to break in here. It's like, okay. And then when they're hanging Halle Berry, it's like, all right, she's going to die in 60 seconds. And he's giving him the countdown like it's actually going to happen in 60 seconds. But it's like, I don't know, she might last 2 minutes up there. Like, who knows?
Well, I think the big thing for the BJ scene was that he lasted 60 seconds. It was pretty impressive, right? That was the whole thing.
Yeah, I was about to say, this guy's doing really good.
You were worried about him getting an erection. I was like, 60 seconds? Wow. So he's going twice, or what's the
deal? What else do you ever stock down?
Mine's similar to yours, working on a computer, stock down.
Yeah.
I watched this movie when I was 13 and 14. I loved computers when I was younger. And I just thought when I got to this age, I'd be doing some Excel spreadsheets, hacking into like with the multiple monitors, keyboards going, when he's like in the zone drinking wine. I thought the same thing would be happening when I'm doing my VLOOKUPs and pivot tables and sum if formulas. I thought I'd be like fucking getting that high that he was getting. Yeah. Nope. I'm just sitting here fucking miserable. What, that was a lie to me. The whole thing was a lie.
Well, it's funny because my next stock down was the computer that you had personally built that you're probably sitting at right now. Because when you said, oh, I built a computer, I was like, wow, that's pretty fascinating. I'm really proud of you. That's amazing. Like, you're some sort of weird scientist. But then I see this movie and they open up the door and it's 2001 and there's like 8 monitors, like 7 screens. Like, does your computer have 7 screens? I don't think so. Can each one get onto its own network? I don't think so. Is there a fun little loopy graphic that connects all the monitors? I don't think so. So I'm not impressed by the computer that you built anymore, actually. I'm the opposite. I think it's terrible.
I've been watching this movie, aspiring my whole life to get Halle Berry and get 6 monitors. I mean, that's the fact of the matter.
It is kind of funny just looking back to 2001, being like, this is the peak of technology, is just like 7 monitors kind of like haphazardly placed. Like, each one of those monitors is $50. Like, it's not a lot. Love hates. What do you got for love?
I'm gonna fawn over this. I don't care though. It's super original. I think the one thing I saw in all the reviews was it's not original, which it kind of blows my mind because I've never seen a movie like it since then. There's this ambiguity in terms of bad guys and good guys, and all these moral quandaries and questions about things. It's a great late 90s, early 2000 action movie. I mean, I know there's definitely some sentimental value for me, but I just thought it was great and unique.
Yeah, I thought the action sequences were fun. I honestly did. The opening scene, we already talked about that, but it was a nice table setter. The Travolta whipping out the M249 on the street shootout. At the beginning of that scene when he just like stands up the convertible coupe and shoots both of them with his pistols. Like,
yeah, that was sick.
It's a great trailer shot. You know what I mean? It's great.
What movie has a guy doing that in a car chase scene followed by them asking you, how many innocent people would you be willing to kill in order to cure all diseases or save America or be a patriot? Wait, what? Like, that's such a different movie that you're asking that question in.
Could you kill a child to cure all diseases?
I press a button to do it? Yes.
No. Bare hands.
No. Could you?
It depends whose child. No, I don't think so. That's a lot of pressure. And also, like, I'm not even sure that's the answer. Like, obviously, like, diseases and stuff suck. Now we're talking about population control. Now we got a population issue. It's one of those things, like, it's almost a butterfly effect. Like, I'm not 100% sure that I'm actually solving the world's problems by doing this. So if you're asking me to kill a baby and I'm not really 100% sure I'm going to solve the world's problems, then, like, I'm probably not going to do it. But it depends what kind of mood I'm in. Also, the gratuitous violence was fun. It was pretty much consistent throughout the movie, and Travolta was living by his own moral code. And the thing that I did like about him as a bad guy is there was a purpose to him. He was going for something. He had his idea of what a freedom fighter and a patriot is, and that's what he was doing.
I need to mention it. Halle Berry. I mean, I already went over it a little bit, but I watched this when I was 14. Top 5 of any movie, just for my personal recollection.
What do you mean? Excuse me. What do you mean by that?
Like top 5 hottest people I've seen in a movie.
Okay,
yeah.
Got you.
Character-wise.
Yeah.
And to do that while having an Ed Sheeran haircut is beyond impressive.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that with that haircut, and somehow she still pulls it off.
So you didn't see the topless scene when you watched it on TNT, obviously.
No, I didn't even know that was a thing.
And then when you saw it, how much later did you have to rent it or something like that?
I saw it when I was 13, 14, and then I didn't hit puberty until I saw the movie with, rated R version, which I was like 19. That's when I hit puberty. I started actually be like, oh, wow, wait, what's going on?
Oh, I'm just picturing like big
didn't grow
mouth,
facial
like
hair until then.
Yeah, your first pube just pops out. It's like, whoa!
That changed my life a little bit.
Interesting question here for you. Do you think that scene was better in terms of like, oh my God, like she's so hot, or the one when he finds her with the wire?
I actually like the wire one better.
Yeah,
but
so
the
did
wire one was, I don't know. I feel like it was weird to
gawk?
like that too much. To
Yeah.
gawk on that one too much. I'm like, no, I got to follow what the story is. Where the one where she's reading, which we love that, obviously, reading too. That was just meant for that. That was just like, there was nothing to that scene other than we're going to show
exactly.
her tits here.
That scene was,
Which
it
we
just
love.
seemed a little cringy because it was like,
hey,
just
whoa,
for
cringy.
that. Well, just
Yeah, this is you got to think this is 2001 before the explosion of the internet. I mean, we needed it, all right?
Yeah, sure. Well, the internet was around, but yeah, it hadn't.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like that would bring people to movies back in the day.
Oh, 100%. It did. It did bring people. That was like the biggest selling line for this movie was Halle Berry's going topless.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but yeah.
My other love is the hacking scenes, just because they're so cheesy. They are as cheesy as it can possibly get. They're like laugh out loud funny. And I always find it interesting how, one, it's okay to say that we don't understand how hacking works. I have no idea. I'm okay with that. But how Hollywood always tries to help us visualize it by putting tetrahedrons together or like different shapes and then just like sticking things to them and being like, oh, he's hacking. And that's exactly what happens in this movie. He's just like putting a Rubik's Cube of code together and then it's falling apart. And he's like, oh, and it's just this like weird montage of him drinking wine and being like, yes, yes, no, no, with the music in the background. It was hilarious. I had a good
laugh.
They
did the same thing in The Matrix, to be fair.
Oh, no, I totally agree. I'm not saying that this is a standalone, terrible, any of these movies when they do it. And it's because obviously, like, one,
hacking's boring.
It's boring.
It's like looking at an Excel spreadsheet. Yeah,
exactly. The people that probably did it the best was like The Social Network when he's just writing all the code for Facebook. And it's another montagey type thing, but the music's better, obviously. And
9 Inch Nails.
Yeah, well,
Trent Reznor.
Yeah, Trent Reznor. So it just made it better, where this music was honestly terrible throughout. I got some honorable mentions. The Flying Bus. Gotta love that. Yeah, I can dig it. A little deception there. Rich white politicians fly fishing. Always works. It always works. And for some reason, they all do the same thing. There's like a helicopter finds them on a stream in Montana fly fishing. That's just the way it is.
It checks out completely.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
And just to really cement this movie in the time at which it was made, the blonde highlights everywhere. Even Hugh Jackman's got his like frosted tips. Everyone else has some sort of highlight going on. The 90s fashion, the sunglasses that these guys were wearing.
Yeah, the just, long trench coats.
Yeah. Like the sunglasses are the same kind of sunglasses in like The Matrix, and they're wearing them seriously, which is I
thought they were cool. I mean, I don't really like to jump on trends. I actually thought those sunglasses were cool, so hand up on me. But I still think they're cool, honestly. But whatever, maybe I'm an idiot. Oh my
God, I would love to see you come down and visit me and wear those sunglasses, and I would love it. I will not shit on you. I would love it.
The thing is, I realize I can't wear them because you got to block whatever you're seeing here. I got a face for radio and a voice for typing it up.
Voice for deaf people?
Voice for deaf people, and the ability to write for people that can't read. So that's where I stand. But so I need sunglasses that block my whole face. Yeah. I've only gotten comments on sunglasses the bigger they are. Like, oh, that's not bad. Those look pretty nice on you. And I'm like, yeah, these are just, I just have a blanket on my face. Like, yeah, keep that there. Keep that
People
whole
are
thing
like-
on.
Yeah, people are like, oh, those sunglasses are nice. And you take them off. You're like, oh, what, these ones? And they're like, ah. All right, let's get to hates. What'd you hate about Swordfish?
You already mentioned it. They needed to just cut the falling down the hill scene and him running away. They didn't need that. I think they just were like, we need to put some action here. So let's have him like running away. It didn't make sense. And then the falling down the hill with like clear stunt doubles for like 3 minutes. Get that out of the movie. Just get it out.
I didn't even know it was stunt doubles. It was like dummies because the way they were falling was like so like dead body like.
Yeah.
But I actually think that they went back in the editing room after they filmed this movie and they were like, wow, this is all pretty terrible. So they're like, well, let's keep all the action scenes, obviously, and then we can work after that. And they're like, well, we only have an hour. So they're like, shit, we got to start adding stuff back. And then someone just said, like, what if we just have them fall for like 3 minutes? That'll get us past the 1:30 mark. And they're like, yeah, that sounds good. Just have these guys falling for 3 minutes.
No comment.
My first hate is, what about Holly? A lot of questions here about Hugh Jackman getting, where's Holly? What are you going to do about Holly? You want to see Holly again? All this stuff. I'm pretty sure Hugh Jackman would have no problem getting custody of his daughter if this was real life. Yeah, okay, he went to jail for 18 months. It's a white-collar crime. No big deal. He was Wired's like #1 man of the year on the rise in 2000. So he's got a big brain on his shoulders. He can go into the corporate world.
You can't use computers, sir.
I know, whatever. Like you said, the internet hasn't exploded. He can use a fucking abacus for all I care. He's got a brain on his shoulders. He can do something. He uses custody of his daughter to his wife, who's an alcoholic and a porn actress, who's now married to a porn director / producer, who's making the films in their own house. A judge is thinking going to be pretty lenient in California when it comes to visitation rights for her father. Like the idea that he just can't see her because he went to jail for a white collar crime while there's like gratuitous sex going on in the room next to her bedroom. Gross. Although the Halle Berry's comment about her being a fluffer in a couple of years was honestly the funniest part of the movie. What else you got for hate?
People calling it a techno thriller. Do you know what that is?
No. Sounds hot.
Everyone was like, this is a weird new techno thriller. You want to guess what it is?
Maybe because of the shitty soundtrack?
That's what I thought. No, it's just a tech thriller, like technology. They call it techno, though. It just annoyed the shit out of me.
It really has nothing to do with technology besides the like couple of shitty hacking parts.
Why would it not just be tech? There's already a word for that. Or technology.
So every like
techno is another word.
Like You've Got Mail is a techno rom-com? Like what? Yeah, just because it has a computer in it? I got two more. How is Stanley free to go at the end? He took $10 million to hack into this whole system, which kind of started this whole thing, and then he put this other bug in there, and then he lost the guy. Like, he didn't do anything at the end. And then, lastly, I just needed a little bit more out of my buddy Vinnie Jones. I love Vinnie Jones. Yeah, anytime he's in a movie, I mean, he steals the show in Eurotrip, and he's in it for 5 minutes. He gives a good one line to the hostage about the RPG being a suppository, but then he dies by falling out of a flying bus. Although it was a pretty fun death in that, like, he then exploded. I just wanted more. I mean, even in, like, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, he doesn't, like, really talk, but he just, like, has this essence.
Same as Gone in 60 Seconds, I think, too, right? Yeah. I think he has one line. He's only allowed one line in every movie. I think that might be a rule.
Some studio notes. This made $147 million on a $102 million budget. It made $45 million, so that's a win. Interesting timing of the release. 3 months before 9/11. I don't remember personally at the time, because I was just a young wee lad, was terrorism like a super hot topic or something like that? But terrorism didn't really like exist in my 13-year-old brain until 9/11. And so the fact that this movie came out 3 months before and was basically just like focused on fighting terrorism, and just the takeaway from this movie, where the idea being, if they blow up a school bus, we take down one of their whole schools. The ratchet up thing, it's like, oh shit, like hopefully people didn't take this movie too serious after 9/11, but I guess it worked out.
Yeah, so it was real. You harbor terrorists, we'll go in and literally harbor your country for 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. Mission accomplished. It got a lot of press, like I said, because Halle Berry was doing her first topless scene. She was paid an extra $500K on top of the $2 million she made, so 25% more to take the top off. She says she did it because she was like uncomfortable being nude and kind of wanted to like break that barrier. Good for her. I would also just do it for $500,000. And obviously, I mean, if you could probably figure out how much that made the movie, just that idea as like a...
She should have got some percentage on that.
She got points on the movie, but whatever. And John Travolta earned himself a Razzie nomination for Worst Actor for this movie. So
that's gross. That's a gross nomination.
You said you did it for Rotten Tomato variance, but it's got a 28.59 on Rotten Tomatoes. So it's actually not a huge variance, really.
That's a big variance, though. I mean, it's a big variance, but it's not. If it was 60%, it'd look bigger because 60% is the popcorn, right?
Well, when I'm 60%, I look bigger. So yeah, I know what you're saying. 60% is certified fresh. Yeah.
It's right there. If it just needs one more percentage point, which I'm going to put some reviews in.
Yeah,
to make
you got to drop a few in there. There is a rotten review on here that I'd like to reference. It says, it's a good thing the action is noisily distracting because you don't want any downtime in which to ponder the plausibility or sense of anything that is happening. I think if you take noisily out of that, it's a good thing the action is distracting because you don't want to do any downtime in which to ponder the plausibility of the sense or anything's happening. Yes, I agree, but that's a positive thing for me. At the time, I'm not like, ooh, how is this working? Whatever. I'm like, yeah, there's a ton of action that they fill in with some crazy story about how he's leading Black Cell, that they're going to use $6 million to kill terrorists. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. Sounds good to me. The action is distracting in a positive way. So we need this guy's rating to turn upside down.
I have one review here, too, that I wanted to make sure to get your thoughts on it. This is the definition of empty and empty-headed entertainment, willing to stoop to any level to goose a weary and jaded audience. Do you know what goosing means? Willing to stoop to any level to goose a weary and jaded audience?
The navigator from Top Gun?
Yeah. Close. To goose is a verb to poke between the buttocks with an upward thrust. So, I mean, I was goosed this whole movie, and fact of the matter is, Glenn Whipp from the Los Angeles Daily News, what I enjoy and what I have enjoy getting done to me in my own private home has nothing to do with you and nothing to do with the movie, okay? So I'll be goose all day if I want to, all right?
The second she started in the hacking scene, you're like, oh, hold on a second. Let me get the KY. I got to goose myself for the scene.
What a word. I mean, I think that's what it means. There's no other way to use that, right? I'm not sure. That's not Urban Dictionary. That's like actually the real dictionary word.
I think it's probably been built into the vernacular to mean something that's less than that, but I still like it. You know, I'm going to use it. Are you goosing me? I'm going to use that all the time. Thank you for bringing that into my life.
You're welcome.
Would you recommend this movie, Keith? The answer is going to be
100%. If you like The Matrix, Enemy of the State, Law-Abiding Citizen, any of those movies, that's what this is.
Enemy of the State is so much better than this movie.
Enemy of the State, you could say all the things you think are unrealistic about this movie, you could say the exact same thing
about
Enemy of the State.
I agree. I'm not saying that it's more realistic. It's just a better movie.
But your only criticism of this movie were that it's unrealistic.
I'm going to tell you that I didn't hate this movie. You know, I'll tell you as well. To me, it's a pretty ideal shitty Sunday movie. You know, you had a couple of barley pops the night before, not a lot of sleep. This is a good, like, in your 20s. No one has seen it. You live with a couple of guys. Everyone jumps on the couch, grabs their blanket of choice, and settles in for a quadruple feature on a Sunday, like when football season's over.
That's not a shitty movie Sunday. That's just my every Sunday. That's what that is. That's like a good movie Sunday. I don't know what you're talking about.
Your brain only working at 30% because the night before.
Yeah, well, that's normal for me.
You're ordering some pizzas in between movies and you just crush them. Yeah, I love that. And I think this movie would fit in well there. But my deciding factor on whether this is a good movie or not is, would I ever watch it again? And the answer is no. Absolutely not. I've seen Enemy of the State within the last 5 years. If someone was like, hey, do you want to watch Enemy of the State? I'd be like, yeah, I'm down. I'm okay that we watched it. The wife said, I asked her review as I was walking in here to record. She said 1 star, terrible. So you have a bone to pick with her. But
Ellie didn't really like it either, so that's fine. I'd give it 3.5 buddies.
No,
out
get
of
the
4.
fuck out of here.
I've seen this like 20 times now, so I think it's original. I thought the bad guys were cool. I thought the action scenes were cool. I thought the philosophical debates were cool. There's no other movies that really do that. Matrix obviously does it, but it's like the Matrix is a 4, right? Like, so this is a step down, but it's still...
Well, the Matrix also, like, broke ground cinematography-wise. Like, that was,
for
like,
sure.
holy
I don't
shit.
care. I mean, who cares about breaking grounds? I mean, I don't care.
Well, I think I care when it makes the experience of watching it, like, holy shit, that was crazy. Like, how did they possibly do that? You know, it feels cool.
Right. But at the time, I mean, that doesn't help for rewatch value now, 20 years later, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. It does for me, maybe because more of like the nostalgia factor of it, and like how I remember how I felt when I first saw that movie, and I was like, holy shit, like this is something I've never seen before. Well, that's
why I'm giving it this high of a score, nostalgia factor.
Yeah.
So
okay, sure. Yeah,
you can pick the next one.
It's a 1.5 buddies for me. It's a Twizzler. You know, when we're watching movies, someone's like, "I got Twizzlers." I was like, "Oh, sure, pass me Twizzler." And I take a first bite. I eat
Twizzlers on airplanes all the time. Yeah, I'm like, this is the difference between me and you.
First bite is good, and then after that, I'm like, okay. And then they do another one. I'm like, absolutely not. That was disgusting. I don't want any.
Yeah, so I love Twizzlers, and you don't. So that's the difference.
Yeah, you probably goose yourself with Twizzlers.
Hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with goosing oneself, okay?
Oh, okay. Well, that was Swordfish. I'm just glad we hashed it out. It's important. What do we have coming up in the book world?
Leviathan Wakes by James S. A. Corey.
We'll catch you all next time for Leviathan Wakes. All right. Bye now.